Hello everyone, and welcome to the last module in this course. We've come a long way from introduction, from talking about dimensions, pixel per inch, principles, elements of design. We've gone through the Photoshop interface itself. We've designed flyers on our own. We've replicated flyers. We've designed from a brief generated by AI. And we've also learned how to use AI to generate images we need in our designs. So yeah, this is most likely going to be the longest video because we are going to be designing 6 flyers here. It's a carousel. I would explain what it means later, but you are basically designing 6 flyers and the flyers are kind of connected. Let me not talk too much before we actually go into it. So without further ado, let's get started. So what are we going to be looking at in this module? We'll be looking at what exactly a carousel is. And also, when you design carousels, after you know what a carousel is, the first slide has to grab attention. So we'll be looking at why the first slide has to grab attention. Also, we'll be looking at designing CTAs instead of relying on default app indicators. For some of you that already know what a carousel is, even before I define it, you know when you post a couple of pictures on Instagram, for example, and people have to slide to the left to see the next pictures inside a single post. Now, Instagram, for example, comes with some little dots at the bottom that tells you there are still many pictures apart from that single one. I think it's the same for TikTok. I've seen that. And we'll also be looking at continuity across slides. The slides have to be cohesive. They have to tell a story. They have to look like they belong together. And also we'll be looking at the technical setup before you actually start designing your carousel. Alright, so what is a carousel? A carousel is a multi-slide post. That's all. A multi-slide post. What we've been doing so far, we've been designing single flyers and we export them. But a carousel is a post that has, this is a flyer, introduction, this is another flyer, talks about something, this is another flyer, talks about something, and you post them together. That is, they belong together. So it's a single post that has multiple slides. You find them on Instagram, LinkedIn. This should be probably TikTok, not Facebook, because Facebook is going to scatter your carousel if I'm not wrong. Instead of one flyer, you are designing a sequence of slides that someone swipes through, right? So I said here that you think of it as a short story told in frames, a short story told in different slides. Each slide has a job, each slide has a message that it's supposed to pass across, but everything still has to work together. Now, I mentioned here that the first slide has to hook. You know when you're watching TikTok videos and there's just like an attention hook, someone puts a very funny video first, then it just stops and the person now comes up to say whatever it is they want to say. The reason why they do that is to grab your attention and make you stay on that video so that you don't just swipe. That also applies to carousels. Your first page is very, very important. If your first page does not grab attention, then people will not be interested enough to actually swipe through and look at the other slides that you've designed. We'll be seeing all these things. This is just like an overview. I mentioned the other time, I'm going to say it again, that you should not rely on the app's default swipe indicator. That is the one that appears when you are just posting pictures of yourself and you are not designing it. But when you are designing a flyer, it's best you have something like swipe. You would have seen posts online where they will say swipe or see more or next. Things like that are very important because they serve as call to action on every single page. And on the last slide, you have something like click this link, drop a comment. Those are call to actions. They are very important in carousels. So you have to make it obvious on every slide that the carousel continues. Now, we are looking at continuity. Continuity is what makes a carousel feel like one cohesive piece instead of 6 or 7 or any amount of slides you are doing, so that it doesn't feel like random images you just stuck together. So it comes from staying consistent across slides. You can use black, use white, then black, then white. You can use, there are several styles. The sign is not limited to a certain rule. But what's important is that you stay consistent across the slides and they seem connected. You cannot use black in the first slide, use white in the second slide, then use something like purple in the third slide. Even if you would do something like that, there still has to be something that connects each slide. We are going to see that in the carousel will be designing. So the viewer should be able to tell, even without reading the caption, that all these slides belong to the same story. It should not look like you are just posting different designs. It should look like you are trying to tell a story with each of those slides. Now, remember principles and elements of design, where we have things like alignment, repetition, contrast, balance, and so on. A carousel is the best place to put these principles to work. And also, a carousel is where it would become very, very obvious if you do not put these principles to work. Because you are not just designing one canvas to look good, or you are not designing a single slide to look good. You are designing several slides that have to agree with each other. Alright, so next we'll be looking at the technical setup. Now, there are two ways you can design a carousel. For example, if I want to design a 4-page carousel and each is supposed to be 4x5 normal Instagram posts slide. Let's say this is 4, this is 5. One way I can do it is create an artboard 4x5, and let's say we are designing 6 slides, right? The height is still going to be 5, right? But then this 4, we are designing 4 in 6 places. So this is kind of 6 multiplied by 4. This has to be 24 units wide. So that by the time you divide it into 6, let's say, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So by the time you divide it into 6, each of it is 4x5. And the other method, this is first method. The other method is just to create different 4x5 slides, another 4x5 slide, another 4x5 slide. I think I should go to Photoshop to explain this so that you can understand what I'm saying. Alright, so here we are in Photoshop. The first method which I mentioned, let's change this to inches. So I'm designing 4x5. I'm actually going to work at 72 here, because if I design at 300, because I'm designing several things in the same document, it's going to get very, very heavy at 300 and your work might start crashing, which would frustrate you a lot. So let's stay at 72. Let's create this. This is the first method. Let's say I want to design 3 slides. I'm going to duplicate this. This is going to be my second slide, and this is going to be my third slide. That's the first method. Now we have 3 different artboards here, right? Each of the artboards are in the 4x5 ratio. Now the other method, let me create another document, is, for example, we'll come here. We know we are designing 3 slides. So 4 multiplied by 3, you can just come here as 3. Photoshop converts it to 12, but you already know 4 times 3 is 12. Then you click on create. So it creates a single artboard for you. And now you design, and when you are done designing, you now split your design into 3 different parts. So those are the 2 different methods people use. Now, which one do I prefer? I actually prefer this, where I use a single artboard. The only situations where I don't use it is when I'm designing about 10, 11 and more slides, and I know it's going to get heavy. So I split it into different artboards like we have here. And also another factor is the software I'm working with, because Photoshop files are usually very, very heavy. But when I'm working in CorelDRAW and Figma, regardless of how many slides I have to design, I'm still going to use this method because I know it's never going to crash, and those softwares handle large files better. Alright, let's move on to calculating slide count and setting up grids. From the brief you'd get, you'd already know the number of slides you are to design. So if you are going to use a single artboard, You have to calculate it before you start designing, which we've done already. I just showed you that now. And then you decide how many slides your carousel will have, because that determines how large your overall artboard needs to be. And then last thing is you have to set up guides. Now let me not stress you with explaining this without showing an example. So let's just go to Photoshop and start designing. Now we are in Photoshop. We want to design a carousel. You know the deal. You go to the description. There's going to be a Google Drive link there where you can download the resources that I'm going to use. The brief is also included, so make sure you follow along and try to replicate whatever it is I'm doing here. Alright, so we have our brief here. Here's what drives us. I'm going to open it in Notepad and look at it. We have this. Here's what drives us. We don't just talk about change, we are built on it. You know, this is going to be the front page, the very first page that has to grab attention. Do not forget that. And then we have number 1, empowerment. We know this is a slide. That's 2. This is a slide. Opportunity. This is a slide. Community impact. That's 4. This is a slide. Innovation. That's 5. This is a slide itself. These aren't just words, they are how we show up every day. Which value resonates most with you? Drop it in the comments. So this is slide 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And we have our social media handles and email address here, which we are going to be putting in every single slide. Alright, to start, I know I'm going to be designing 6 slides. So Ctrl N to create a new document. We come here, 4 by 5, that's 1. And if we are designing 6, that's 4 multiplied by 6, which should give us 24 multiplied. So 24 by 5 inches, resolution 72, not 300, so it doesn't get too heavy and crash. And we make sure artboards is shared. We've done that. Then we click on create. So how do we know the limits of each slide we are going to be designing? We definitely have to use guides. And in case you are not seeing your ruler, what we have here, you can just press Ctrl R to bring it out or to hide your ruler. So here is where we are going to be getting our guides from. Alright, but before we do that, we know we are designing 6 flyers, right? So let's create a rectangle. There's another way you can do it, where you use your calculator to figure out where the guides are supposed to be, but then I just see no reason to do that if there's a very easy method. So just create a little rectangle here. Alright, now we are going to duplicate it. 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Now we have 6 rectangles. The next thing to do is we are going to make sure they touch each other at the edge. Right, these rectangles touch each other. Now if you need to zoom in to make sure you don't overlap, please make sure you do that, because if you overlap, the guides would be wrong. So make sure it's just touching, not overlapping, like so. You can see, holding on Ctrl and hovering on each of the rectangles, you see the purple line in the middle does not move. It means that they are actually touching each other, not overlapping. If it's overlapping like this, then look at, you see how we have 2 purple lines instead of 1. So it should not overlap, it should just touch. All right, and we are going to do that for every single rectangle we've created. That's 6. So you just drag enough for them to touch. Now you select everything, Ctrl G to group, then bring it to the top left of the artboard. You can just use your alignment shortcuts here, align left edges, then align to the top. Next thing you are going to do, this is just a shortcut and a very efficient way to do this instead of calculating. Then Ctrl T to bring out your transform control, and you extend, you stretch the rectangle up to the right edge here. Extend it and make sure it snaps to the right edge. Then you click on OK. Now let us look at what we've done. We have this. Let's ungroup, Ctrl Shift G, and we are going to hide this, and this. We are going to hide all of this rectangle, and each of the rectangle we have, the width of each of the rectangle is the width of a single flyer we will be designing. That is exactly what we are trying to achieve. So let's unhide everything now and bring out our guides. Come to the ruler here. Again, if you can't see the ruler, what's the shortcut? Control R to hide and to show. So basically, I'm just going to delete these other rectangles. I don't need them. I only need one. Then I'll come here. Make sure it snaps to the edge. Make sure it snaps to the edge. And in case you're having issues with snapping, for example, you bring out your guide and then it's not snapping to the edge like this, you just have to come over to view, then make sure snap is checked, view, snap, and also come to view, snap to guides, grid, layers, slices, artboard. Just try to check everything here because you would need help as much as you can from Photoshop to design carousels. So I'm going to duplicate this and I'm going to bring it here. I can delete this, I don't need it. I'm going to bring another ruler here. All right, the same thing, we are going to bring it here, do another one, bring it here, then do another guide, bring it here again, okay, bring it here, then do another guide, and like so we have one. Look at, clicking on the artboard, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and each are equally or evenly spaced. Now another thing you could have done is look at the size of the artboard, 1728, and then you do 1728 divided by 6, and then you start drawing a rectangle of like whatever figure you get, and eventually you are still going to do this. So the fastest way is just to draw those 6 rectangles of the same width or the same size basically, and then make sure they are touching each other. Align to the top left around here like we did, and then you just stretch so that each of the rectangles is as wide as a single slide you want to design. Alright, now that we've divided our artboard into 6, exactly what we want, when we design we also need additional guides that will tell us that this thing is already getting to the edge too much. Actually, we might not need it a lot in something like a carousel, but we would need it for the first and last slide most likely. That's what we've been doing when we are designing a single flyer. For example, let me come over here to show you that, and then we come to view, guides, and new guide layouts, something like this. I don't know why this is like so. Let's say 50, okay, 20, right, 20, 20, 20. So this left and right spacing, they tell you that do not go beyond this, the edge of the design, so it doesn't kind of like get too close to the edge. That's basically what we'll be doing here also. Let me just save this and name it carousel design. So you can just keep on pressing Ctrl S from now on. It's Ctrl S to save. And now we are trying to create our guide. I actually want the guide here to go from 0 to 20. So I'll come here. Let me zoom in. Alright, so I can pick this and move it to 20. It's on 20, but if you zoom in, it's possible it's not exactly on 20. So this is not safe. Doing it this way is not safe. One thing you can do, however, let's see if we've not deleted every single guide we created. Okay, we still have it there. Another thing you can do, which is going to work, is come to view. Let me zoom out so you can see it. Come to view, guides, then new guide layout. So you have 20, yes, 20 on the left, 20 on the right. Alright, we also want the guide to be on each edge of each slide. So what are we going to do? The same method of a rectangle. Let's just do a rectangle like this. Alright, so it just fits to this edge, like it's this wide. Then we bring the rectangle here to this guide, then we pull out another guide and put it here. Let's move the rectangle here again, bring out another guide. We are doing this so that our work would be easier later and we won't be worried about, you know, design leaving its bounds. So I'm going to keep doing the same thing for each of the slides, like so. I'm going to bring it here, create one on the left, create one on the right, then bring it here also. The reason why this works is you are just using this square or rectangle, whichever one you draw. You are just using it to measure the size of, you know, the margin. Yeah, it's margin, the margin of the guide that you are using. All right, and we have the same thing on this last page. All right, so we've set up our guide for the design. I know this is looking more complex than everything we've done, but eventually you're going to appreciate that we actually went into carousel design. We are going to bring in our background. Now, I mentioned that it has to be cohesive when we were looking at the slide the other time. So we've not started designing yet. You don't need to replicate this. I just want to explain something. So you can design like this. You can do something like this. And then you do something like this. Let me bring it here. And then let's give this which color? Let's give it this color. And I don't like that. You need something dark. All right. And then we'll bring in the black again. So everything kind of seems connected. You get, it's not that now you are using, for example, you are using this green here, and then in this place you are using, let's say you are using yellow or you are using red. This is not going to look good as a carousel. And another method you can use, which we are going to actually use in our design, is just use a single background that is continuous over every single slide. So go to your resources folder and bring in the background. So let's drag in the background to our design, and we are going to rotate like this. You know how to rotate, right? Come to this anchor point, move out a little bit so that the rotation handle comes on, and then while loading on shift, it rotates. Or you can just come here and type 90 degrees, and I'm going to increase the size, increase it like so, exactly, right? This is good. So I'm going to reduce the opacity because I don't need the background to be this dark and obvious. I'm going to reduce it to like 36, right? So this is something close to white, but not exactly white, right? So if you are scrolling through what we'll be designing at the end, you are going to see how it would look on an Instagram post. You'd see how everything looks continuous and cohesive. So what is on our first slide? Let's go to our brief. It says, here's what drives us. We don't just talk about change, we are built on it. So let's bring that in, create a text layer and just type it here. I'm going to change this to poppins first. Yeah, let's reduce the size because this is way too big. All right, let's bring it here. Yeah, here's what drives us. We don't just talk about change, we are built on it. Now you might look at this and be like, oh, it's already getting blurry. That's because Photoshop is pixelating whatever you are designing, and also we are designing at 72 ppi so that your file does not crash. I can actually design at 300. My PC can handle it. In fact, when I was designing this the first time before this tutorial, I used 300. But even at this, by the time you export, let me give you an show you an export of this. This is an export. It's still going to it's still going to stay sharp per slide. This is it. It's still going to stay sharp enough per slide. All right, let's move on to the next thing that we have here. Now, what are we trying to do? We are trying to design something that tells a story that looks cohesive. So this slide says, here's what drives us. We can use the image of a car in this first slide, but how do we connect it to every other slide that we have? Here's what I actually thought about when I was doing this, and that's what I went with. So I downloaded this image of a car. It's in the resources folder, so I can bring it in and use. All right, and I can actually put it here, right? I can put it here, but it's going to be a style and you are going to see it. In fact, I think that we should actually use 300 ppi because I do not want us to design completely, finish everything, and then we find out that it's not as sharp as we want it to be. Even though I believe it's going to be sharp, but I'm not willing to take that risk right now. So Ctrl N, the same thing, 24/5, we just change this to 300 ppi, and the same process. Now because I've explained the process the other time, it wouldn't take you long to do the same thing here, right? So you just come here, create the first one, duplicate it, make sure it's at the edge, do the same thing, 5 and 6. All right, then what next are you going to do? Control C, extend it to this edge, take it to the top, bring out your, okay, I'm going to delete this. So delete every single rectangle that you have that you don't need. All right, let's bring this here to the left side, and then we start doing our guide. Bring it here, do another guide, then you repeat the same thing for the remaining 6. Now if I had given you figures, or we've calculated the other time, guess what we'll be doing now? We'll be calculating all over again, just because we changed the resolution. But if you are doing it this way, you don't have to worry about any maths of any form. So you just come to view again, guides, new guide layouts, and we are going to put our margin at 100 because the resolution is larger now, so 20 won't work anymore. 100, 100. All right, 100 on every side. Then we draw a little box or a rectangle, whichever one. Just has to be as wide as the margin we've created here, and make sure it's actually as wide as the margin. Just pull it off, like pull it away and then pull it back. Make sure it snaps. All right, then we bring it here, duplicate, can delete this. We are done with it. Bring it here, bring it here also. Make sure you select artboard. That's the only time you're going to see the guides. So bring it here, and you just keep repeating the same thing like we did the other time. It's not going to take a lot of time because we've done it before and we understand the concepts behind it. So we do this and this. All right, now you can, let's save this as maybe carousel design 2. You can save it with whatever you want. Let's close the former one because we do not need it anymore. We are also going to close this so that we have enough space to work with, enough RAM to work with actually. So let's bring in a car and also bring in the background here. Then rotate like we've done. We are basically repeating what we've done earlier. And then come here, reduce the opacity to, I can't remember the figure we used last, but I think 18 works fine for me here. So I'll bring this car and the rectangle to the top, delete the rectangle, I don't need it again. So I'm going to bring the car to our first slide, and within this short period we've done exactly everything we've done in the previous documents at 72 ppi. Now this is 300. If we type in poppins, yeah, it's going to stay sharp even while designing, so it looks good. The other one, if you export, is going to look good, but while designing it won't look good, which I don't like. That's why I thought we should restart. Also, because we are designing in 300 ppi and the document is quite large, you can try to close other applications you are not using if you know your PC is not strong enough to handle a lot of things at the same time. So you can close Google Chrome, for example, and make sure you only have Photoshop and your File Explorer on. So we have what's this here. Here's what drive source. Let me copy that and type it here. Right, so I need it to be big because it's the main text, bold. All right, let me bring it here like this. Here's what drive source. I think we should use Bricolage Grotesque actually. So I'll come here, Bricolage. I just like these fonts. Reduce the letter spacing. Okay, this is good. All right, let's bring it here. Ctrl T to increase the size. Right, so the copy itself actually grabs attention, but your design also has to grab attention. And notice the placement of the car. You notice that it's going from the first slide into the second slide. So by the time you cut it, a part of the car is going to belong here, another part is going to belong here. But when you post it, it's going to look like one single long banner. That's the beauty of designing carousels like this. You are going to see it when we are done with the design. So let's duplicate this and bring it here. So actually it shouldn't be here's what drive source and this. It should be this first, and yeah, then here's what drive source. I was the one that copied the wrong thing. So we come here, we don't just talk about change. Let's paste it here, reduce the size. Right, now this font here should be Poppins. Now I'm using a maximum of 2 fonts in my design. I can stick to Bricolage Grotesque also. I just feel like, in fact, let me stick to one font, Bricolage Grotesque. Let's keep it this way. Then Ctrl C to reduce the size. Yeah, give it more space and then bring it here. So it says we don't just talk about change, we are built on it. Here's what drives us. Now when people read this, they see the car, it kind of grabs their attention, even though we are not even done yet. But the copy itself, that's very important also, that the copy of the first page should grab people's attention and tell them there's more, that you have to swipe. Also, we want to connect every single artboard. So what can we do here? This is a car, right? Cars move on roads. So what if we create a road under the car like this, and then the road just continues to the very end of the design, or to the very end of the carousel? So that's exactly what we are going to attempt right now. So you pick your pen tool, you click here, then click here and drag to create a curve. Then while holding on Alt and your left mouse button, do not leave it. Your left mouse button, you can move this anchor point, bend it downwards a little bit, so that the next curve you draw is going to bend that way also. Alright, so that's exactly what I want. I'm going to do it again. Click like this and hold on Alt, reduce this anchor point, and I think I'm going to add, this is the last video definitely, but sometime in the future when I have time, I'm going to explain how to use anchor points, probably for the vector illustration video or course. We'll see about that, but basically you can follow along with this. So let's do another point here, and we are going to close it, try to close it again. We'll come here like this, then do another one like this. All right, we can adjust it later. Okay, so we come here and then try to close it off. All right, so let's bring our car to the top. We are not done drawing the road yet, okay, but let's still use this for now. All right, and we are going to adjust the curve we've drawn. So how do you adjust curves? You come to your direct selection tool, come here, then you try to select an anchor point, right? We have this anchor point here, so I'm just going to hold on Alt, so I have precise control on each one. I can actually move this way, then draw this. I'm trying to make it look like it's a road, not that it's wide on one part and then it's narrow on the other part. So let's do the same here. All right, I'm going to move this. It looks more like a curve. Okay, this like so. So I'm just trying to adjust to, make it look better. All right, now this looks way better than what we had before. Now we could have continued this to the end, right? We could have continued it to the end, but then we'll start having to adjust, like, we add to stress here to adjust the top and bottom. We'd have to, start adjusting for everything. Another thing we can do is to just create a line. So we'll come to our pen tool, P here, and then click on this and try to continue the line we are drawing. So just look at what I'm trying to do and try to replicate that on your own end also. All right, okay, now what we want here is a line, not a shape. So we are going to take away the fill and give it a stroke of black. Increase the width of the stroke like this. All right, so what we now need to do eventually is to adjust it so that this and this look like they belong together. But we've done this is the first step. We'll worry about that one later. Right, what color do we want to give this road? Definitely our road is going to be blue because that's the color we are working with here. But which shade of blue? Oh yeah, there's a color palette and it's in the resource folder, so let's just bring in the color palette. All right, so we can pick our blue directly from there. Good. Now there should be something also in the middle of the road. I mean, we are trying to draw a road ourselves, right? This can be black actually if we're designing a black and white flyer, but blue works better for us here. So let's draw the middle white line and come here. Try to, make it make sense, like make it look close to what we have here already. Then try to follow it like so. All right, come this way, then to this point. Then you come back here again. Let me even change this to white. Good. So you see what we are doing. Come back here and draw this. Now you might not get this like the first time, but just don't waste a lot of time like at this point. Even if it's not as perfect or it doesn't look perfect, this is not perfect even for me. But for the sake of this tutorial and the fact I do not want to waste a lot of time, I'm not going to like try to make it very, very perfect. But I'm going to just adjust this so that the curves look similar on the right and on the left, right? So let's do this. You know how I'm selecting the anchor points, right? Your direct selection tool, which is A on your keyboard, you just select that and you use it to adjust the edges like we have here. Okay, all right. This now, in case you have an edge like this, a perfect angle that does not bring out any anchor points, you have to come here to your pen tool. Then you select convert point to. That's going to convert a perfect corner and edge to a curve where you have these handles. Now you can now go back to your direct selection tool so that you have more control over it, right? So we have this here. Let me bring this way. All right, let's reduce this like so. Yeah, there actually has to be a better way to do this, but I can't think of any right now. There's definitely a better way. Once you are doing something and you feel like it's stressing you, then there's most likely a better way to do it. But let's just continue with what we have here and just finish it up. All right, now this looks like a road that continues from here and then it just thins out at the back. Yeah, I hate the fact that I want it to be very good, so I'm going back to adjust these little things, but eventually I'll just have to go on with what we have like this. All right, so you can take your time to do this as good as you can, but do not waste too much time on it and just continue. All right, so we have the road that moves from this first slide, second, third to the end. Now how do we make sure this looks the same? Now if I had continued drawing this shape to the end here, the way we are adjusting here and it doesn't look so smooth, it's the same way we would have to be adjusting to the end. That's why this is very important. We did this manually, then we are going to use Photoshop to actually do this. So let's change the color of this. Let's change it to let me change it to red first. Come to stroke, change this to red. Now we are going to convert this stroke to smart objects, but before we do that, you to bring out our controls here, or you can come to properties. Okay, it's not showing here, but make sure you have your shape tool or your rectangle tool selected so that you have these options at the top. Then reduce the width of the stroke to be about the same size as this white that we have inside. All right, now I'm going to convert this to a smart object, right, because I want to give it another stroke. So you come to your f of x here, give it stroke. Now you can come up with another way to do this. I've always mentioned it that you can do the same thing different ways and get the same results, So we select this and make sure it's just about the same size. All right, now we can go into our smart objects, double click on this icon here, change it, double click also, change it to white. All right, the reason why I used red in the first place is so that we can see what's inside. Because this did not change it to white. Why is it not changing? Oh, okay, come here, change it to white, change the stroke to white, save. So the reason why I used red was, before putting the stroke, if I had used white directly, you see that we won't be able to see it clearly unless we kind of zoom in and strain our eyes. So that's just me solving a problem by doing that. So let's bring our shape below what we have here, and what are we going to do? We are trying to blend it in. Let me move it like this, right? So we are going to try to blend what we have here and what we have here. So let's come to this one that we've done. Let's actually rename it. Okay, let's rename it to main road blue. This is the main road, then main road white, and let's see, rest or remaining road. All right, so for this main road blue, I do not want this little, you can see this little edge, this little angle that is showing here. Let me zoom in so you can see it. We don't want that, so let's create a mask and just paint it away. You know how to write, right? You paint black. Okay, I don't think I have, I have the wrong thing selected. Okay, so create a mask and then hide it like so. Then this little angle you have here, how can we solve it? You can start thinking of ways to do it. Well, one thing that is going to work is creating a new layer, Ctrl N, then picking color blue, selecting your brush, and then just painting blue. This is our layer, right? Let's say brush cover, so name it. Now we are going to have a lot of layers here, so it's better you name your layers so you can locate them later. Then you just paint the blue here like this, just to cover it up. Now this looks continuous to some extent, unless someone tries to, even if someone zooms in, I mean, it still looks very, very continuous. Now when you have a car on a road, there's going to be a shadow. How do you create shadows? Now you can come to effects, F of X here, come to drop shadow, but it's not going to be realistic. It's never going to be realistic if you do shadows like this for a car or someone standing. So what can you do? Let's bring our car to the top, Ctrl J to duplicate. Now we want to turn the entire shape of this car to black. So we come here, color overlay, and then we overlay black on it. Can you see what we've done? So Ctrl C, depends on where the light is coming from, but you just have to skew it, right? You know how to skew like we did for the previous video. You don't control and then you drag down like this. So let's just bring it below. Let's try to make sure it's on these tires like this. You can rotate it a little bit, because I moved this guide just now, which I shouldn't have done. So I'm going to redraw it again, right? I don't need a stroke. Okay, so I'm going to bring it here. Yeah, I know I've moved it. Good. So that's been fixed. Now let's get back to what we're doing. Then you bring your car above the shadow, and what are you going to do to the shadow? A shadow shouldn't be this harsh and sharp. So you come to filter. Let's first convert it to a smart object again, then filter, blur, Gaussian blur. Right, so you blow it like this. Let's move it up a little bit so it's closer to the tires. All right, and then I'm going to reduce the opacity. All right, so here's the before and here's the after of our car on the road. It looks more solid now, like it's standing on an actual road. Okay, the first slide is usually what takes a lot of time to do, but once you are done with that, you can just blaze through the rest of the slides. All right, so what else do we have to include here? We've done all of this. So the next thing we have to do is just the social media handles and the call to action that says swipe. So I'm just going to come here, draw my rectangle, give it a corner radius, then give it this color that we have here, right? And give it a stroke also, a white stroke. I'm going to increase the stroke so that it's more visible than it is now. So should work. Okay, let's go for 4. All right, yeah, that works. So we bring it here, we bring our swipe here. Let me reduce it like this, and let's duplicate the text, bring it to the top, and then type swipe. Let's change the color to white. All right, and this should be maybe regular. Now we need an icon here. When you are designing, it's good to accompany text with icons whenever you can. So let's come to our fast forward. Everything is included in the resources folder. It's black, it won't work on blue, which is also dark. So what do we do? Color overlay. We've done that several times in this course. So come to color overlay, change it to white. Now at this point you should actually just be breezing through this and following me along, but then it's still possible you have issues. There's AI and there's me. You can reach out. I'm going to put you through in case you get lost at the point. So Ctrl G to group these two, then I'm going to align to the rectangle. Ctrl G, and I'm going to name it swipe. So this is our swipe that we'll be using on every single page. Now we've done that, the last thing we have to include here is our social media handles. And to design that, I'm going to do another rectangle from this edge now to this edge. Reduce it this way, give it some corner radius. Also I'm going to give it this color that we've used here over and over again, this color, yeah. Then draw a smaller rectangle inside, corner radius also, and give it the color of this swipe icon here, or our swipe call to action rather. All right, so let's align the centers vertically. And is it aligned? Yes, it is. So let's bring it here. Now if you bring it too close, you can see how it looks. It doesn't look good, so you just have to make sure it looks okay like this. Then Ctrl T. Should this have a stroke? I don't think so. I'm just trying to design like the section for social media handles, so you can just like follow along, do exactly what I'm doing, and you get it. It's not complicated or complex. So you come here, bring in your 3 social media icons: Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Let's reduce it and bring it here, reduce it also. All right, now we can group everything. Ctrl G, and then apply color overlay to everything at the same time instead of doing it one by one. So we can come into the group. Now everything inside this group is affected by the color overlay. So if I take LinkedIn out now, you can see it's no longer affected. Right, so we have LinkedIn. Now I can change this selection from group to layer, so it's easier for me to move. LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook. All right, make sure it's evenly spaced. This is how you do that. And let's reduce the size. Make sure the 3 are centered vertically and bring it to the edge here. So now we can reduce this like so. You can use Ctrl T or you can use direct selection tool, whichever one works for you. Now let's center this group to the rectangle at the back. Now we are done with that. The next thing we have to do is type the actual social media handle, right? So let's duplicate this, create another text layer, bring it to the top, change the color to white like we have here, and yeah, you can put your social media handle there. I mean, it's your design, so put it here, social media handle. This is way too big, so I'm going to reduce it, give it a size of 10. Yeah, that works. Then align also. can see how I'm making sure I align every single thing so that I don't forget later. I'm still going to reduce this. All right, does this actually show? I don't think so. Let's change the color to this blue that we have here, or black in fact. Yeah, okay, it means this background that we have here, it's too dark, so we can just come here and pick a lighter version, but I want us to stick to this color palette that we have here, so I'm just going to pick this. Yeah, this works. All right, this works. Again, I have changed my mind. This is not what we are going to be doing, because I do not want us to use too many colors. So we'll come to this and again pick this and just reduce the saturation, or should we increase the brightness? Let's make the brightness 80, 90, 100. The saturation, let's just drag it, somewhere around here. So the X code now is 66BDFF. All right. Now we have to put our email also. So where's the email icon? Bring the email icon here, reduce it. It's black. What are we going to do? It has to be consistent and uniform. You cannot use white here and use black here. So what should we do? Change this to white. And how do we do that? Color overlay. Where is it? That? Yeah. And let's reduce the size. We can even bring it around here to make sure it's around the same size. All right. Yeah, this works, because I'm still going to do a circle around it. So let's come here, ellipse 2, do a circle that is around the size of this also. We don't need a stroke. All right, align the circle to the center, and where is our email? Bring it to the top, align it with the circle horizontally and vertically, and group. Now we can bring our email group to this side here. Okay, let me reduce the size of the email a little bit. All right, now let's copy this text also. And what's our email address? mrjohnblue@gmail.com. It's just a dummy email address actually. So let's bring that here. Now we can select everything that we have so far here, this and this. This is what I've selected, right? Look at everything I've selected. So Ctrl T will reduce the size like this. Then select what's at the back also and group. Now this group is going to be our footer. So let's name it footer. The reason why I'm naming this is we'll be repeating them in different slides, like in every single slide, this swipe and the footer. So naming them makes it easy for you to locate. All right, we have that done. Some other little change we want to make. This is okay as it is, but then as a designer, as you design more, you just want to make sure you work on every little thing to make your design look better. So I'm going to come here and add an adjustment layer, and that's actually going to be color lookup, right? So let me change this. Oh, okay, let's not use color lookup, let's use color balance. Let's clip it to this car. We can in fact group it and name it car. All right, so we have that this way. Then come to color lookup, adjust it, make it look bluish, right? So I'm going to bring this here like this. Yeah, instead of it just being completely black, it's just a little change. All right, so it's looking blue now. Cyan is at -10. For midtones, magenta +13, yellow is +38. Then we come to shadows, which would affect the blacks more, and do the same. All right, yeah, this is looking closer to blue. So for shadows, we have -11, 0, and 13. All right, we have our car done. This is the before, and this is the after. You can see how everything looks related. It looks like it belongs together. It looks like we just downloaded this, and this from somewhere. Meanwhile, we created every single thing ourselves. So that's actually composition in flyer design. There are videos on composition if you want to go into things like movie posters and all, where you learn many of these tricks more. Okay, so we still have a few things left to do here. Yeah, let's bring in this cloud image that we have here, and okay, we're going to change the blending mode to screen. Yeah, change the blending mode to screen so that the effect is just like not too obvious. It just affects it a little bit. Then let me duplicate and reduce the opacity of both, selecting both and reducing the opacity to around 50. Yeah, that works. And I think I'm going to want us to actually put a logo here, but I don't want to put someone's logo on my logo. Let me bring this to the edge here. Let me bring this closer to the end. Increase the size. Yeah, so let's just create a simple logo here, a rectangle, sorry, a square followed by a circle. Should not have any stroke. Yeah, followed by a circle. Okay, and I'm going to do a triangle also. Alright, and lastly, we would have, what other shape can we use? Let's use polygon, a 5-sided polygon. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what this, if I was designing a logo, I definitely won't do this because I don't think it passes the message across, but I just don't want to leave that top part empty the way it was. Or let me just do this. I'm deleting this, so I'm going to duplicate this and then flip it, you know, horizontally. Yeah, flip horizontal. Alright, so I'm going to select everything here, group it, and name it logo. Alright, so this is going to stand in for our logo. And one thing we can also do is kind of change the colors to our palette here. Exactly, so we can take advantage of the palettes that we have here and change this also. Let me change this to yellow. Alright, so yeah, that's too many colors. This is okay the way it is. I'm going to reduce the size and reduce it even more. It's just a logo, it shouldn't be that big. Alright, so that's your stance as a logo. You can put your logo there. Let me just type chroma, yeah, something like this. I'm going to use poppins here because it's a logo, so it doesn't count as, you know, a different font that you're using in the design. Put whatever you want to put there. In fact, if you have a logo already, a personal logo, you can just put it there. Yeah, we have that done. Now the next thing we have to do is work on the other pages. Now what do we have on our page 2? Let's come here. Our page 2 says empowerment. We believe every young person has the power to shape their own future. So we come here, copy this. Where do we have space here? Yeah, so let's put empowerment and reduce the size like so. It should be around the size. Alright, yeah, the size should be around here. Now the next thing I'm going to do is also copy this, bring it here, and we believe every young person has the power to shape their own future. So copy that, paste here, and yeah, instead of using this, remember we talked about using text boxes when it's more convenient. So just use a text box and we'll look at the properties of this. College grotesque extra light 13.54. So we do the same thing here, 13.54 college grotesque extra light. Exactly. So now we can change this. We believe every young person, copy it and paste it here. Alright. I don't know why. Okay, yeah, I think it was justified before something. So you can just come to, where is it? come here to your properties, your transform or character. Is it character? Yeah, change the letter spacing until it makes sense. Then it should be aligned to the left. It should be left aligned, not looking like that. All right, so I think there's still more texts. We just help unlock it. So there's still more text here. Yeah, and I want this person to be on the same line, right? So it looks better this way than this. So yeah, we can do this, close it. I think I might actually have to move everything we've done, move all of this. Now because we've grouped it, it makes it easier for us to work on, right? Because we've named it rather. So let's bring our, what's this, main road blue, then remaining, and also main road white. Let's group. So this is our road. We are going to move our road this way. The car, we are going to move it a little bit, move this, so that we have space for this empowerment text. Now empowerment is number 1, right? So we have to kind of indicate that. But before we even do that, let us place our logo in every single slide, place the footer in every single slide, so that you see that we are actually close to being done with the whole carousel. The first page is what takes most of the time. So just, we are using rectangles to measure like distance or to measure width. Notice that that's what we've been doing. So let's bring it here, and then we'll copy this chroma logo here. All right, so we'll bring the rectangle here again, and we are going to do that for the 6 slides. Make sure it's exactly at the edge, and like there's no little gap that you are missing, or it's not overlapping. Yeah, cut. Make sure it touches it. So if you have to zoom in, so make sure it's exactly where it's supposed to be. Please make sure you zoom in. It does not take anything to just zoom in and make sure everything is perfect. Yeah, so we have the logo on every slide, and now we want to take our footer. This is our footer. Let's bring it to the top. Control Shift brackets to bring it to the top, and then we'll duplicate our footer here. Now you notice our footer is extending from this guide to the other guide, so there's no need for a rectangle to measure the position. So we just bring our footer here. We'll do the same here, and we'll do the same on the last page, right? So all we have left to design is just the contents. So the next thing we are going to do is number 1. But before we do that, let us change this text. Let us add a little bit of design. Again, as a designer, you look at little things that you can do. That won't be too much, but you can, edit in your design that will make it look better. So I can come here to give it a gradient overlay. Now this gradient overlay is going to be very close to black. It's just a little bit of gradient. So let's come and select this dark blue 00F19 and this this little shade, so 023961, that's the X code. All right, we have that. Good. So we can copy the effects. We copy effects. You hover on it, hold on Alt, then you drag it over to this empowerment text that we have here. You can see the effect has been copied over. Let me show you the before and the after. Right, so it's just a little effect that we are adding. And also our swipe, we have to copy our swipe to every single artboard, and you can see it's already touching the guide that we have, so we just have to duplicate. Now if you didn't use these guides at all, you can already see that we'll be having issues figuring out where exactly to place things. So taking time to create guide at the beginning is going to save you a lot of time eventually. So you are not wasting time by creating guides. You're actually making your work easier for yourself. So come here, do the same for every single slide. And what else do we have on the first slide that is going to be repeated? I think that's all good. So the next thing we have to do now is to create this effect here. Let's verified. Let's bring it here. All right, now I want to put text on it, just text like 01, but this white mark is there. So what can I do? I'll just come here, create an ellipse and cover it, as simple as that. Then change the color of the ellipse to the color of this shape itself. Look at, group the two and convert it to a smart object. Look at, this is what we have. So what do we do next? Let's duplicate this, take it to the top. We are going to remove the gradient overlay, change the text to 01. Let's align it vertically and horizontally, and then we'll change this to white. Now, because we'll be repeating this in every single layer, one thing we can do to make life easy for us is to actually make this aligned to the center and then realign it, like realign it at the layer level. Why? If we duplicate this and type 02, whatever we type, regardless of the width of that number, is still going to be aligned. So you won't have to be aligning individually. Imagine it was like this before. This is how it was before we did the alignments. And then we duplicate. If you want to change it to 01, look at, it's not aligned to the center anymore. That is just the difference. So we have this out, this out, this. All right, we have 01 empowerment. That slide is done. Okay, you can come here and you can come here. So we have something linking this every single slide. So even if we don't put other things, it's still fine. But empowerment, we believe every young person, look at the content, every young person has the power to shape their own future. So we have young person, we have future. That's what prompted me to look for these images: an engineer or an aspiring engineer, a child, and an adult engineer. So you can bring the two of them to the top, Ctrl Shift bracket. All right, okay, I selected the wrong thing, and this engineer to the top. All right, so let's place them here. Now look at the guide. So this tells you that whatever we are going to be doing here is going to move from inside one layer to another. And you also reduce this, it was like this. People can just put it here like this, but it doesn't make sense. How can its head be bigger than the other person's head? So you have to reduce it, make it look like they are standing beside each other. All right, flip this horizontally and bring him to the top. We have these two here, right? So they look connected, they look related, everything looks like it's telling a story, and it's intentional. I'm not just picking random images. Now, what else do you notice here? This man's jacket is kind of green and this is yellow. We do not want that, right? So how do you change color in Photoshop? Use saturation. It works 90% of times, unless in rare cases or special cases. So you come to this ant icon here, click on it so that you can select green. Now when you selected green and you adjust, whatever adjustments you make is only going to affect the greens in the image, right? So we can make this closer to this orange, increase the saturation like so, make it closer like this. Yeah, good. So even though we are actually not getting the perfect orange, because if we take it like towards the side too much, it's going to look bad. So it's better this way. I will leave it here, and I want to actually take this effect away from the cap. So my brush tool, while clicking on the hue saturation mask, then you paint over his cap to actually take that effect away. All right, so let's look at the before and the after. You can see little changes that make your design look good. And what next do we have to work on this page? I don't think there's any other thing except this cloud. that we've used in the first and second part, let's bring it here too. Make it show a little bit more. Just bring it over here. Yeah, I think that's about this. Let me reduce the size of this because it's too big for my liking. Okay, should I put this here? Yeah, it works here too actually. Alright, so let me just group these texts and this at the back and name it numbering. Remember when we started naming your layers when you are working on complex designs, so that things will be easy for you, and also grouping layers so you can select at once. In case you are selecting and it's only one you are able to select, I've mentioned it several times, this is where you do that, change it from layer to group. So let's duplicate this. This is the next flyer we are working on. By the time we cut everything, you are going to see how it's going to separate, and when we now post it, you'll see how it's going to join back on Instagram. So we have 02 opportunity, that's number 2. Right, now you see we won't be like using a whole lot of time again. Every slide we design gets faster because we are just using elements from previous designs. So we'll duplicate this and bring it here. Why is swipe here? Swipe should not be here, should it? No, Ctrl Shift G. Yeah, swipe should not be here. Alright, okay, this is what I should have grouped. Alright, so this is opportunity, and we are going to see the advantage of our text box now. So we just have to paste. We don't need to like be pressing enter and adjusting manually. We just have to paste, and then we'll use our mouse to just move the text until it's the way we want it to be. So you can just move it like this from the same place. In fact, I think it should be like this. Alright, from the same place. We create pathways so no potential goes to waste. Now I think I'm going to move these two people, these two guys, I'm going to move them to the left a little bit. Come on, this is the boy engineer and the adult engineer. Group everything and move like this. Now they should be below this social media handle, so bring it to the top, and they should be below our swipe, so bring swipe to the top. Alright, but it's covering the boy's face. I don't like that. What can I do to solve that? Okay, I'm going to select every single swipe that we've done and just move them down. Alright, so it's not covering the boy's eyes at least. Yeah, it's still okay. Yeah, that works for us. Now you can see the advantage also of like duplicating everything at the start. You can just like move it together, and also this makes it easy compared to creating like 6 artboards. If you were creating 6 artboards, then you would have to copy and paste every single time. If you make a mistake, you can't select these different things in different artboards and move them easily. It's going to stress you. So this, I think, is the best way to actually design carousels. I mean, it's what has worked for me so far. So the cloud also, I'm not sure you are seeing the cloud, it's just like a little effect, but then I'm just putting it in the design. Yeah, so it shows. And opportunity and the text, copy it again. Number 2, copy it again. This should be number 3. You can see how fast we designed number 2, so we are getting closer to the end. And what do we have here? Community impacts. Let's just copy the text, put it here, community impacts, and we have changes in individual, it's collective, blah blah blah, like so. Alright, so we have community impact, and this, we bring it here. And what next do we have to do? Number 4. Number 4 should be, what's that? Now, even if you don't draw your lines like this, I mean, you can do it anyhow you want. Just make sure you try to fit everything properly and there's enough space. Everything doesn't look like rough. We have innovation, number 4. Okay, there's space at the top for innovation here, and good problems need fresh thinking. Yeah, work better. So we have innovation, the text, and the copy. Now, is there space? There isn't space for it. So what do? We can bring it to the top. Innovation, there should be an image we can use for innovation. Yeah, this image. Yeah, we can bring this in for innovation. Good. All right, so we don't need much for community impact then. Can just move the text here, bring this lady to the middle of the two. By the time we cut, it would appear on two. She is going to appear on two layers, but it's still going to look good. So this is looking more purple than this light blue. So use saturation. Look at how many layers we've designed now. Imagine we didn't name anything. If we need to look for a single layer, we would have to stress ourselves a lot. So let's clip it in. This is how you clip something in, right? This icon here, and then just adjust it like this. The lady is blue anyway, right? Because it's like in a VR room or something like that. And I'm going to duplicate our image actually. Now VR girl, let me group the one that I've changed. So this is the previous one, the original image. This is the one that I've changed. Yeah, right. So for the original image, I'm going to color overlay, then overlay this color on it. Use the little effects, then duplicate this color overlay again, change it to this. So we have two color overlays. Now let me bring this just below it here, and I'm going to move this to the left. You can see what I'm trying to do here. Then the original lady at the top, move her to the left also. So you are going to see the effects. So it's just the lady, then a color overlay of the lady, then another color overlay of the lady. That's basically what we have there. So let me move here so you can see the effects, right? So this footer should be above again, swipe should be above. Okay, what's next? Now this is just innovation. This is about innovation, so it should be facing the other side, not the side it's facing presently. So let's group and name her virtual reality girl. So we've grouped every single thing. This is it. So Ctrl T, then we flip horizontal, so it's facing the flyer or the page it's supposed to face. Then we move to the fifth slide. We still have to work on this innovation because it's not good the way it is. Number 5. So let me just come to innovation and try to fix it at once. So what can I do? I can come to this road. Did I not name it? This should be road group. So we come here and road extension, right? Remember what road extension is. It's just a shape. I think it should be around now. Let's not. It should be around here that we want to move. So come here. That should be around here. And come to our pen tool here. And then we are going to add an anchor point here. Good. Now we can now come to our direct selection to select this anchor point and probably move it down like this. Now it's going to affect a lot of things. So let's save, Ctrl S, so that the changes show here, right? Look at where it has affected. So we go back again to work on this. Let's move this down, this like this. All right, it should be good the way we've done it now. It should be good. So Ctrl S to save, and yeah, we have this here. So now the text is no longer on this stroke or this line that we've drawn. All right, so we have number 4, fourth slide here, and the fifth slide is going to be, what's going to be on the fifth slide? What do we have? We have these aren't just words, they are how we show up every day. These aren't just words, they are how we show up every day. And then there's the question, which value resonates with you most, or which value resonates most with you? Right. Now you can see that everything I'm using, every single image, every icon, they're actually because I read the content. If I didn't read this and I didn't notice what drives us, I won't know it would make sense for me to use a car and a road that connects every single layer. We're actually done with our carousel design, and we are done with the course. Basically, this is just me, trying to finish it up and do a little bit of edit. So now reading this, we know it's the last slide and they are saying what value resonates most with you. Now you can't swipe on the last slide, it's the last slide. So we can change this from swipe to comments. Why? Because the call to action is for people to drop comments. Let me change this to layer and move it like this. Extend this rectangle, a direct selection to select this part, and then extend it like this. Okay, and then I'm going to bring in my comment icon. So I've included every icon here, so you don't have to like start going online after stressing to figure out what's even going on in the design itself. So I don't want it to be stressed too much. So every icon, every element I use is here, except probably the fonts, which you already know how to download and install. So come here, color overlay, right? Where is it? Change it to white, and we can delete this this arrow. We can put our comment icon, we can put it here. Yeah, so let's group this comment icon and the comment text. Come back to group here, so we can move as a group, and then align this. Control Shift G to undo because it's just the rectangle left. Yeah, we have the rectangle and this, the rectangle and this. So align both vertically, horizontally, and with that, are we done? Are we done? Let me see. Yeah, I do not like how big it is. It's too big. So I'll select everything again. The advantage of designing this way instead of single spaces. So I'm going to reduce the size like so. All right, I think it's comment I need to reduce more. So I'll come here, reduce this, right, and then the rectangle. All right, so I'm going to bring it back to the edge because it would have shifted. This has shifted a little bit. Just make sure like you've not spoiled your design by mistake. So make sure you go through everything again. Make sure everything is where you expect it to be before you attempt to export. A few things, just this cloud. Me just copying the cloud around, just putting it in different places. Little things people won't notice, but they still matter, right? Now this is not me breaking my rule of simplicity. Everything that is here passes a message across. This should be above social media handles and the footer. Remember, check everything, make sure it's where you expect it to be. This also should be above. What else? Now the fact that we've grouped this, that's why we can just move it to the top with one click. You get, so that's another advantage of grouping related objects together. All right, I think we are done now. Is there anything we've not used? Yeah, that's all. All right, so now we can export. Control Shift Alt W to export. Yeah, or you can just come to File, Export As. So I'm going to multiply by 2, right? So I can export at ×2. So export. Good. Now we've exported our carousel. Let's go to open it in File Explorer. Yeah, this is our carousel. This is our design. So what do we have to do next? We have to cut it now into 6 different flyers like we intended at the beginning. All right, so what do? We come to Photoshop, create a new file, Ctrl N, 4 by 5 now. This is the size of each one, 4 by 5. Click on create, and you bring in your carousel export, bring it in. All right, we have it this way. Now before we continue, I'm going to take this out of the artboard first. Then what we were doing the first, what I explained the first time that I said it's a bad way to design, and I repeated, is what you are now going to do at the end. So it works at the end, not at the beginning. So we create 6 artboards and make sure they touch each other at the edge, right? So artboard 1, copy 3 like this, and like this. So let's name this slide 1, slide 2, slide 3, slide 4, slide 5, and slide 6. All right, so we are going to save this as carousel quarter. Just make sure you save your files, okay? Then let's bring this into slide 1. Now align it to the top and align it to the left like this. Now what are you going to do? You increase the size. You just increase it. Don't worry that you are not seeing it because it's only limited to slide 1. So you increase it like this till you get to the end here. All right, now your design is at the end. You can see how it looks now. So the next thing you are going to do is you now drag it out of slide 1, right? Now duplicate it 6 times. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now doing this is easier with Figma and CorelDRAW, but I do not want to go beyond Photoshop for this course. That's why I'm going through this process. So you come here and just drag it back up into slide 1. Bring it into slide 1. Drag this up. Make sure it's aligned like this. Then take it into slide 2. Drag this up. Take it into slide 3. Drag this up. Take it into slide 4. Drag this up. Take it into slide 5. And lastly, you drag this and put it in slide 6. Now let's separate our artboards. Look at what we have. Look at what we have. We have 6 different designs split already, and this is our carousel. So we can now export again, and then export to let's create a folder, carousel final exports. Select folder, and we have all our designs here. Alright, so I've sent the design to my phone and I've posted it to Instagram here. So I'm going to show you first. I hope I can still find it. Yeah, this one I did a long time ago. Okay, this is a video. Yeah, look at this. You can see how it's obvious that these are different flyers I've posted, but even so, I still used this continuity in this slide that we have here. Now look at the one we designed now and we posted. Look at it. It looks continuous. Can you see? It looks continuous. That is the advantage of designing a carousel like this. It's not compulsory, but it just looks good. It looks different from what everyone does, which is different designs per post. And also it looks like you are telling a story. The person is swiping and it just looks continuous, so like the person is seeing different, like 6 different flyers. It feels like the person is seeing a single flyer and the person is just reading through a story. Alright, so with this we have come to the end and the end of this course. I'm probably going to make one more video where we are not going to be teaching or explaining anything. It's just going to be me rounding up. We've come a long way from just introduction to the software, the interface, explaining what design is itself, or flyer design is, going through principles and elements, replicating designs, starting designs from scratch, getting brief from AI, which I believe you should do often, get briefs from AI so you can design several things and build your portfolio. Then we looked at generating images. I think we've covered a lot, and I believe that at this point you should be able to call yourself a designer. Should I say see you in the next video? Hopefully. Enjoy.